Another Nick no banger.
Okay, hey guys. I thought I'd try something a bit different this time and just show you all a replay or something. This has got quite a few comebacks in this short replay. The match is between Deuteria and Low Midhat. So I'll go through the replay briefly, just explaining what happens, and then once that is done I'll go through it again and explain why I have done what I have done and what I could have actually done to do this a little bit better perhaps. And yeah, so let's begin. So to start off with, I do a sort of random opener, lifting my knee up, getting ready to either kick him or block him. It's really up to the other guy to decide what he's going to do. And so I decide to get into a comeback position using my elbow contracted, and I'm going to raise it presumably, and yep, I'm going to raise my shoulder and extend my elbow, which will propel me into the opponent, and I'm going to bring my leg forward and try to kick him in the head. I just glance off the head, which gives me what seems to be about just under 10,000 points. So at this point in time I don't have to do anything, I don't have to come back, and I win. But I'm not like that, so I set up a comeback, I get my wrists ready, I extend my wrists, use my rotation of the chest, moving the hips around to create momentum, and then I yet again set up another comeback with the knee, as you can see right now, and I swing the hips around, rotate the chest, swing the arms around, and extend the knee which was ready. Each time I'm setting up a new comeback with the wrist, with the knee, it does not matter. As long as you're gaining momentum towards your opponent and you're going towards your opponent, you can set up an attack nicely. Right now I'm not in the greatest position to actually make a comeback right now, and now I've got my shoulder lowered so that I'm going to raise it and bring my knee around to try and kick him, but that doesn't turn out too well, as you'll see soon. So because of my inability to block, or just the randomness of what happened next, my elbow becomes fractured, and that gives Low Midhat 5,000 points, which is enough to win the match. So if I hadn't have come back, I would have won. Since I did come back, it was a great game, I learned a lot from it, and it gave me the opportunity to go over my replay and see what I did wrong, see what I could have done better, and that'll help me in the long run. Okay, so now I think I'll go over Low Midhat's gameplay. I think he started with an opener, I'm not entirely sure, but let's see. So he starts off with getting the hips ready, swinging the chest around to the left, extending the right hip, creating a momentum forward, swinging the chest around, going for that hit with the knee or something, and he gets the strike off, rotates the chest the other direction again, but he doesn't do too well because he ends up parallel to the ground and his head is connecting with the foot, as you'll see right about now. He tries his best to block it, but he's not able to. So now he swings around, gets into the comeback position quite nicely. Does he use his wrist? No, he doesn't. If he had have waited another turn, used his wrist to actually set up properly, get into the comeback position, then he could have used one or two wrists to propel towards the other opponent, Deuteria. But sadly that wasn't the case, so he pretty much flopped around and yeah, he tried to come, and and so that made the match go on for a little bit longer than it should have really, and made it more difficult for Deuteria to actually get to him. And so Low Midhat does quite nicely there again. He moves his body around, manipulates his joints so that he creates momentum in the right directions to actually land in the right position and get that right comeback. So he has his wrist ready, his knee ready, and all he does is extends the knee, extends the wrist, lowers the shoulder, and contracts his other knee, and that comes into contact with the elbow, which happens to fracture, and that's enough for him to win the match. So now I'll go through some things which could have been done better by Deuteria, I think. So I think that he could have taken longer on his comebacks, set up his attacks better, be more precise with what he wanted to do. Like for this instance, he could have blocked the kick instead of actually going for the head, which didn't do too much damage. If he had used the knee, if he had contracted the knee, he might have caught the shoulder or the pec, and that would have done a lot more damage than just glancing off of the head. Yeah, and he could have used the extension or contraction of the foot to perhaps get more damage off of the hit to the head, but that wasn't the case. And right here, I think that another turn should have been taken. Although it was a fast comeback, it did give the Deuteria more time to get back to the other opponent, have a chance to actually hit him or do something to him. Another turn should have been taken to actually stop the movement in the opposite direction of where he wanted to go, and to create a lot more power. So he sets up another comeback with the knee. It's at an alright angle, but because it doesn't really create enough power to prove useful, and so instead he has to create another comeback with his wrist, and then clumsily create some sort of knee which doesn't do much. It just kind of flops around, which makes it so that he has to set up another comeback after waiting 100 frames to actually raise his shoulder, get around to the opponent, and sadly the rotation of the Tori ends up with his head being next to low mid hats, knees, etc. And so Deuteria's only option really is to block and hope for the best. And in this case, the elbow fractured, and there's nothing really you can do about that except for just hope that it doesn't happen, or turn the settings of dismemberments and fractures up. So if you guys found this helpful in any way, or liked it, whatever you really want, leave a comment about what you enjoyed, what you might find helpful. Clicking the like button gives me a good idea of what is being received well, what could use some work, etc. And thank you all, and I'll see you all later.